going to turn it over to Amy to do toxins, and she'll tell you a little bit about her experience. You're going to definitely want to take notes on this because she's going to talk about some websites that you can go to where you can look at what your makeup and your lotions and all of that are. So, was that? Oh, yeah, yep. Let's go. There you are. Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. I want to just touch a little bit about what Lanny said about mindset, because I think it really matters what your mindset is when you get a diagnosis. For me, my mindset, kind of like a light went off when I got a diagnosis, which was listening to the doctor and what he had told me, which was I had a 70% chance that it had already metastasized into my blood because I was stage 3 and it was already in my lymph system. And for some reason I just thought, but that means there's 30% that it's not, you know? And it just kind of like, from there, I just started fighting. And then another light went off where he was like, yeah, you know, you're gonna have to do this and you're gonna have to do that and all of that. And I didn't really like the answers he was giving me. So I decided to go to a doctor that I liked the answers that he was giving. So, it kind of like started this path for me that nobody cares about your health as much as you do. So it's like a doctor can say, oh, you've got a 70% chance of metastasis and you've got to do this and this and that. And it's like, he says this because he's got 700 patients. He's not thinking about me every single day, every single minute. I've got to take ownership of my own health. Like, I can listen to a doctor and follow what they say, but at the same time, it's my responsibility to research. It's my responsibility to fight, right? So with that, Lanny and I met. We were volunteers for the Breast Cancer Fund, and we met driving up to a seminar. And so a lot of the slides that I'm going to be talking to are from the Breast Cancer Fund, or they're from the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. So some of these statistics, cancer rates have gone from 1 in 8,000 in the year 1900, 1 in 2 for men, and 1 in 3 for women. And my belief is that chemicals have a big part to do with this change in the environment. And so we have chemicals in our diet, our home, and our personal care products, which I'll talk to you a little bit about. And breast cancer, which is a hormonal cancer, is gone up 40% in 20 years. So there's got to be something going on to make these jumps. Endocrine-related cancer, which is what I had an endocrine system cancer. It's gone up 500% in 20 years, with about 80% environmental ties. So I like to ask this question if anyone knows what the cure for cancer is. Does anybody? It's preventing it. Right? So I like to show this just for shock value, but he and I shared the same cancer. It's a neuroendocrine system cancer, and like I said, it's very strong environmental ties. When I got the diagnosis, I was only 35, and I had a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And, you know, it had a profound effect on me because I was so young, and when they found it, it was already, you know, larger than 95% of people who get this kind of cancer. So I'm like, what is going on? I had made the decision to do Western medicine. They required me to remove about 52% of my colon, which I did do. And I made a decision after that, first oncologist, that I was going to research a specialist in this kind of cancer. And, you know, that's a big thing that I tell people, because I talk to a lot of cancer survivors when they first get a diagnosis, is find a specialist, because that is like so key. And this specialist, he is in Los Angeles, and yeah, it's a pain. I mean, I fly to Los Angeles every 6 months, but my doctor that I was being treated to saw 1 patient a year of my kind of cancer, and he sees 700. So it just makes sense, you know, to make sure if you have lung cancer, non-small cell lung cancer, or you have pancreatic cancer, I mean, make sure you go to a specialist and not just an overall oncologist. So this is where I kind of upset some cancer survivors, is that we have to take a role in our health, and we have to take ownership into what we're doing, you know. And some people are like, oh, it's the environment, or oh, it's genetic, and you know. No, I mean, I caused an internal environment that harbored cancer. And so I, like Lanny, started sleuthing, like Googling and like looking. And, you know, I found this study on a product that I'm not going to name, it's on the slide, but that's off the market now for being linked to my cancer. And I used it for 10 years. And now I found it's only supposed to be used for 6 months. So, I mean, it wasn't my fault. I was 15 when I took this medicine, but I also took a topical antibiotic on my face for years called Cleocin T for acne, and now, you know, there's all this research about candida overgrowth, and she was talking about an acidic environment, and I believe that when you kill a lot of the good bacteria in your gut, you create an acidic environment, and you create something called candida, which a lot of doctors don't believe in, but I absolutely believe in. And so I started looking at some of the things that I did, and then I started saying, okay, I can change this, I can reverse this. If my body was this acidic and this, you know, disease-ridden, what can I do to make sure that now that I've taken half my colon out, that it's gone, that I'm not going to make it come back? So I found 2 books out of all my research, and I'm going to share both of those with you. But the first one was a book called Not Just a Pretty Face. And I love beauty, and I still do. I love skincare, and I love beauty products. But reading this book, it was by a woman called Stacy Malcolm, and I'm going to give you guys a couple little tips to take home. But one of the things she's founded is something called the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. And this book is all about the beauty industry and how it's not regulated, which to me shocked me, because my research found that a lot of what you put on your skin gets absorbed into your bloodstream. And the problem with that is that these chemicals in these parabens and things, and I'll talk more about in detail about that, they cause endocrine disruption and hormone disturbance. And so I started thinking, wow, you know, I use all kinds of products, and you know, I don't know what's in them. What's so great about this campaign is that when I first started working with them, there was 12,000 products in their database that they researched, that they scored, and that the score actually correlated to the chemicals. So it would be 0 for being non-toxic and safe, and 10 for being dangerous, but it would tell you why it's a 10. You know, it has these 5 ingredients. This is an endocrine disruptor, this is a hormone disturber, and this is a carcinogen. So it was really great, and I got on this website and I just started like going crazy and Googling all my products and, you know, throwing half of them away. But the other book that I read was a book called Anti-Cancer, which is so funny because it's everything that Dr. Mindy is teaching me. And this book really changed my life, and it's my #1 gift that I buy for people when they have cancer, because it's by this guy who had terminal brain cancer, and he was a doctor, but he started thinking, you know, he was terminal, he had 6 months to live, and he was like, God, you know, I wonder if it has something to do with my diet. I mean, every day I have a bagel in the morning, and then I go to the vending machine, and then I have pizza, and then, you know, because he's a doctor, and then I have my microwave food and whatever. And so he just started researching. He's like, I have 6 months to live. So he started researching certain cultures, and he found that certain cultures have a lack in certain cancers. So he found that like Vietnamese and Indian have really low colon and breast cancers. And so he started looking at their diets, and what he found is that our diet, our American culture, has the highest foods that create insulin resistance, which Dr. Mindy will talk about and way better than I can. But he started injecting these rats with the same cancer, aggressive brain cancer that he had, and then he would feed them these cocktails. So he would do like a Vietnamese cocktail of like, you know, certain spices, and then he would do cumin and turmeric and all kinds of stuff in another rat. And then he would do another rat where he would do bleached flour and corn syrup and a lot of the stuff that we're eating every day. And there's photos in this book of this one rat, which is basically the American diet of a lot of the GMOs and things. And within 2 days, he was just covered in tumors because the tumors just love that stuff. And then he found that some of the other diets and concoctions, the tumors either stopped growing or they would reverse. And so he quickly started on these diets on himself and started just researching and treating pancreatic patients and things like that. And he ended up living 19 years with the cancer not even growing or anything. I mean, this book is just really great, and I would definitely recommend it. But if you can't sit there and cook an Indian cuisine, for me, I have kids and I'm very busy and I have my own business. I've discovered juicing, and it's totally transformed my health, and it's totally changed my life. You know, she talks about greens. I get so many greens in the morning. There is a green juice that I do. It's called the Mean Green. You can just Google it, Mean Green. And it's like 8 things. It's kale, and it's all kinds of cruciferous vegetables and things like that. And then I sprinkle turmeric and cinnamon, and I have that in the morning. And what I've noticed is I'm not craving sugars. I'm not, you know, in the midday, like having an energy slump. And TK just tested my acid, and I tested good, you know. So I think that this is just, you know, it's a really easy way to get your nutrients. A little bit about the chemicals. I'm not going to go too much into it, but, you know, when I was learning about toxins in the environment, like EWG, the Environmental Working Group, talks about toxins, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's the air, that's the water, that's pollution. It's actually in stuff that we're using every single day. It's in our diet. And I'm going to talk a little bit about BPA because this was really interesting to me. I just had a baby, and I remember the first time around 8-9 years ago, BPA was in our sippy cups and our bottles and in our binkies and all of that, and now there's like BPA free, and the bottles I got are like called Born Free, and they're BPA free, and so we've made such great strides of getting BPA out of our plastics. And BPA is a big endocrine disruptor, which is linked to breast cancer. It causes your body to produce estrogen dominance. One thing that I learned from the Breast Cancer Fund and some of my training is that BPA is actually in our canned goods. And so the little kind of like weird texture around in your cans that lines the canned goods, it's like a rubber, that's BPA. Lanny corrected me at the last talk that there are now BPA-free cans, and I'm sure Whole Foods has them. I haven't seen them at Safeway, but apparently they are starting to come out. But
Eden brand.
Eden? Okay. And boxes, I guess, are BPA-free as well. But there was this study last year that the Breast Cancer Fund did that I thought that was really cool, and it was on their Cans Not Cancer campaign. And what they did is they went after the one day of the year that we use the most cans. Oops. Cute. That we use the most cans, and it's Thanksgiving. And if you think about it, think about all the canned foods that are in your Thanksgiving meal. So they did this study last year, and they found, they took apart a couple of the cans that, you know, are in our regular Thanksgiving meal. So they did Campbell's Carnation Evaporated Milk, which a lot of people use for their desserts, Libby's Pumpkin, which is by Nestle for the pumpkin pies, Ocean Spray Jellied Cranberry Sauce, because who doesn't eat that on Thanksgiving, and then Campbell's Turkey Gravy. And so they did 6 cans in a family meal, and they found that 1 single gram serving of food contained enough BPA to show adverse health effects. So what they did on this campaign is they showed, oh, sorry, well, it's a cute baby. We'll leave it on the baby. They found that there are alternatives, and they're really easy. And so the cranberry sauce, instead of doing cranberry, you can buy cranberries, and you can add a cup of
sugar
or stevia, and then 4 cups of water, and boil it. And the kids love it because it pops and it's fun. The green bean casserole that we all did as kids, just use fresh green beans instead of canned. If you're using, if you're making something that needs carnation milk or sweetened milk, you can use whipping cream or whole cream. And then turkey gravy, you've already made the turkey, just take the drippings from the pan and put in a bouillon cube. Worst case, if you do have to use cans, because I know some people, you know, in a pinch, they found that if you rinse the stuff that is in the can, so like corn, if you rinse the corn, it gets a lot of the BPA out. And then another part of this study that was really cool is they looked at this family, and they found that after 3 days of eliminating cans, the BPA was out of their system. It wasn't in their urine anymore. So it just takes 3 days to reverse the BPA and get it out of your body. So,
Amy, can you go through real quick the 0 to 10
on the database?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so as far as beauty products, which that's my favorite topic. So beauty products, like I said, they scored them. And if you guys go back to our table, we have a breast cancer fund table, me and Lanny. We've put some of these helpful tips for you. But actually, if you have iPhones, you can even do it right now. They just came out with an iPhone app. And if you go to free apps, to the App Store, and you search on EWG, so Environmental Working Group, you're going to be able to check your sunblocks. And there's even another one that they just came out with like 2 or 3 days ago. And if you search Skin Deep, and that has 81,000 products. And what's even cooler is there's a scanner, a barcode scanner, that you can take your iPhone and scan it and get the score.
What do you want the score to be?
So you want the score to be 3 and under. 3 is still good. I have a product that's a 3, but it's because it's fruit acid, and fruit acid left on the skin for a long period of time could cause a burn. But 3 and under is good. I mean, I use a 1.4, which is my mascara. But once you start... EWG, and then that's your sunblock. You can check your sunblock. And then Skin Deep is just all your products. Like there's 81,000 products, so you can check your shampoo and, you know, a lot of those different products.
It's one word, and it's like
Skin Deep, yeah. You search Skin Deep, and it'll say Campaign for Safe Cosmetics, and click on that one. But you guys can take these home too, and for those of you that don't like iPhones or, you know, that kind of technology, you can just rip this little thing off and keep it in your purse, and it'll kind of tell you some ingredients to avoid. Whenever possible, just see things that say plant-based or, you know, chemical-free, organic, those kind of things. These are some of the ingredients in our everyday products. You know, the big thing with breast cancer, paraben, there was a study that was done, 99% of breast cancer tumors had parabens in them. So to say that there's a correlation is an understatement. You know, endocrine disruptors I talk about a lot. You know, I had an endocrine system cancer, but our endocrine system is so fragile that, you know, you want to, you know, just make sure that you give your body and your immune system the ability to fight disease. And if you're putting all these chemicals on your body, then it's fighting those things and it's not fighting that. So I developed a skincare line, and I started working with the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. And I recently signed something called the Compact for Safe Cosmetics. There's 1,500 companies that have done that agree to these 8 things, being vegan, being cruelty-free, all these different things. And of that, they chose 320 companies that there are considered champions and innovators, and I'm one of them. This is a quote from Stacey Malcolm. I felt like I was so flattered she gave me a quote because she kind of started me on this path reading her book. So this is kind of what the database looks like. If you go onto your computer, and I know a lot of you are going to go home and start doing it because it's very addicting. And just to kind of wrap it up, I did these things. I changed, you know, a lot of the toxins in my diet, and with Mindy's help, I've done the nerve, and I've done these 5 essentials. And so last August, I had my cancer scans, and they inject me with the radioactive dye because I have to do a nuclear scan, and I can't be around my kids for 4 days, so I check into this really nice hotel in Beverly Hills that actually has a cancer rate, which is awesome. And so I spend my 4 days by myself, and but the first day they did my blood work, which unbeknownst to me, they do all this blood work before you get injected with radioactive dye. And the doctor came running in, you know, after a couple hours and said, "We've canceled your 3 days of scans. You're going home. You're done. We found something in your blood work." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And this is the first time I was alone. My husband didn't come, and they found HCG, which is the hormone for pregnancy, which I think is even more impressive because my first 2 I had infertility. And so I believe that I've healed my endocrine system and that it was just working again, you know. So that's my little baby. And then the second thing that I think just kind of tells me I'm doing the right thing is that in September I was 5 years clean. So.